As developers and AI engineers, we are all now using the help of coding assistants like Claude Code to build our code, including to build our agents. However, Claude can only really help if the specifications are correct. And more than ever, developers are doing spec-driven development and putting their code to write unit tests as it implements the features. But agent models and prompt changes are still a bit scary to do. You don't know what will change, nor does Claude. So how can you do tests for actual agentic code? That's where Scenario enters. Scenario is a testing framework made for agents. Via simulations you can really test, or have Claude testing your agent for you. Let's deep dive and I'll show you how. So here I have an agent for satellite in-field operations. It has some tools like to search the knowledge base, check satellite station status, and analyze the satellite images. I have my prompts here, and I think it's working well because I tested by hand, but I don't really have any tests for it. So the first thing I'm going to do to get my agent testing off the ground is going to LangWatch documentation on the skill directory and copy the scenario test skills for my agent. I'm now going to go to my project and install this skill. Now I'm going to go to Claude Code after restarting it and run the scenario skill. This skill guides Claude Code to explore your code base, but also to explore your Git log to understand why certain changes were made on the prompt and find out initial grade scenarios for testing your agent. Now it's learning the best practices on how to write agent scenario tests from LangWatch documentation. As it runs a test, LangWatch pops up for me and I see all the simulations they are running. And I see that this one succeeded already, which is testing for the barometric pressure calibration scenario. One more scenario succeeded in the background while the other two are still running. As some tests fail, Scenario is going to keep trying to rerun the scenarios and fixing the agent until they succeed. Meanwhile, let's see which initial scenarios were created. We have here, for example, a user asking to calibrate temperature, how to clear all on the sensors, barometric pressure calibration, and even out of the scope questions that should be rejected by the agent. And the way a scenario test works is pretty straightforward. You define a situation, for example, a field technician needs to calibrate the temperature, which agents are participating in that simulation, including our in-field agent that is being tested, the user simulator that is pretending to be the user, and the judge that is validating the simulation. You then define a script, for example, that the user asks how to calibrate the temperature in the Vantage Pro 2, then agent replies, user will say something else, agent will reply again, and at the end I expect to get step-by-step instructions and the specific real instructions for this model. Claude is going to use those as tests and is not going to stop until they all pass. All the scenario tests pass now and it's doing a final full run to confirm. The cool thing about it though is that now that we have the base, we can keep adding more features that are natively fully tested. Since it has the scenario skill installed, I can just ask, can you now make the agent always return references to the documents retrieved in its response so that technicians can double check? Write scenarios test first. What this will do is first write a test scenario to check that the agent already doesn't have this functionality. And if indeed doesn't, then it's going to modify the prompt to make sure it does, and then rerun the test until it's proven that the agent behavior changed. It added a new test multi-document reference scenario test, and then LangWatch pop up in front of me with the simulation of this scenario running. The test failed, as expected, and now Claude is changing the prompt to fix for your intended new behavior. And now it's going to rerun the test to double check. The test is now running again, I didn't have to touch the keyboard, and it succeeded. Claude actually added 3 new tests, and it's running all of them to make sure everything works. It does, so then it reports success. Now it's going to run all the test suite to make sure that this change didn't affect and break anything else on your agent. I hope this gave you a great idea on how you can test and iterate on your agents with verified quality now. Now go to LangWatch and try it out on your agents.